Welcome, Black women, and anyone else who decided to take a peek at my channel. Welcome back. I am going to do another presentation today. The focus is on stress, survival, and the health of Black women. Okay. Today, we're not going to sugarcoat, we're not softening, and we're not letting statistics hide behind clinical language. We are talking about stress, not as a buzzword, but as a force that has shaped and shortened the lives of Black women in America for centuries. This is about trauma, neglect, sexual violence, and systemic dismissal get under our skin, into our bloodstreams, and alter our futures. It is about how single motherhood, crime exposure, and economic instability trace back to early wounds and ongoing stress. And the most importantly, and most importantly, it is about survival. How can we transform this burden into a strategy for health, longevity, and collective power? So, let's talk about the health crisis in Black women because I don't think we are totally in tune with ourselves, Black women. And I know we're not in tune because we care so much. We worry so much about everybody else other than ourselves. And to me, that stems from childhood. You have a lot of women, and it's not just our background and our culture when I speak on this particular context. A lot of women grew up having to focus on caring for everybody else instead of the focus being on caring for herself, mostly being number one. First of all, number one should have been yourself. Then, if you had children, that should be the next person you care about. Now, some may say, well, my men, my men, my men. Again, I'm speaking from a natural order, a natural standard that we can go and look into other species of females and see that their focus is not on the male in particular. It is on the children, the legacy, those that will continue to grow beyond us. Does it mean that she doesn't love her mate? No, it really, well, I'll say for humans specifically, because we're not, you know, literally like wild animals, but we share a lot as far as the societies that we have, whether it's wild animals or insects or humans, right? And if you're a spiritual person, you have to not just focus. This is why I don't try to focus on the Bible and everything it says, because some things in there doesn't really let you look at the world around you. It doesn't let you step into reality and enjoy the trees, enjoy nature. You got, in my opinion, Christians and people worried about this idea of family so much so that you forget about the natural things around us that is made that we are in tune with. And I think women, especially Black women, we focus too much on everybody else and we become damaged. It affects our health. It really affects our health and our outcome of health. Now, again, I'm speaking specifically to Black women here, but other women are definitely welcome to listen to this and take some of this information because other women it will apply to, right? But as a Black woman, I just want to make sure that Black women are understanding why we're dealing with stuff and how can we heal from that stuff. And one thing I seen, and I see a lot, and again, Black women, just take a seat, just sit down, keep quiet and observe. Observe the women in your family, right? Take your mind off the males for now. Just observe the women in your family, from if your great grandma is still living, to your grandmas, to your aunts, your sisters. Take a step back and just observe. A lot of us are dealing with health issues, and it doesn't help when we put other people before our own health. How can you be a warrior? How can you be a queen? How can you be an educator? How can you be the best mother that you can be if your health is always affecting you? Okay? When we say stress, many people imagine everyday frustration, a rough day at work, a fight with a spouse, okay? But for Black women, stress is not occasional. It's not. It is chronic, Black women, systemic, and life threatening. This is true. A lot of us are dealing with stress and a soft life. You can't just go and, it's a good idea of the soft life, but you got to understand, if that life is not helping your health, then don't do it. Focus on what is going to better your health, whether it's mental health, the stress, that means the people that you are trying to date, the job that you have. All of these things are leading to detrimental crises within our community of women. It's life threatening. There's Black women who died of stress. Some of that stress leads to other issues. You know, it's unfortunate that our counterparts do not really talk about this. They're, unfortunately, they like to make fun of it. They like to think, why are you not working out? Why are you not doing this? Why are you not doing that? But Black women, I'm here to tell you, you got to look at our environments. You got to look at how were you raised. If you were a part of that 60% of young Black girls who experienced some type of sexual molestation or violation or violence, your outcome can be slightly different from those who have not experienced that. Then, if you are amongst the 40% of Black women who experience some type of interpartner violence, or just around in an environment of a community that always has some trauma going on, meaning there's always fighting and yelling and stuff that should not be normal to us. Some people think it's normal, but it should never be normal to us as Black women. Okay? Imagine the daily reality of a Black single mother in Atlanta. She wakes up at 5 a.m., gets her children ready for school, works two jobs, battles traffic, comes home to bills she can't fully pay, and goes to bed with the weight of survival on her chest. This is just not exhaustion, it's toxic stress. This is not about you being a woman and not needing a man. This is not about, well, you too independent. This is not about any of that. I'm going to tell you today why this is leading towards that, and hopefully this helps you to make better decisions moving forward for not only yourself but for other young Black girls, so that we can figure out the health crises that we're dealing with underneath. Because Black women, stop lying. Stop saying you're not stressed. Stop acting like you can't be vulnerable. If counterparts cannot understand that, you got to cut that off. You got to move away from that community. You can't even be around other Black women who thinks it's a badge of honor to be so stressed out underneath and lie about it. Some of us come from parents who never told us to go seek therapy because, unfortunately, this country did have a history concerning how Black patients are treated, and unfortunately, this is documented, right? And not only that, even when you go into health hospitals and stuff today, it's affecting us. I did speak about how when the Democrats pivoted to the immigration policy as being the forefront of their push since 2008, how it pushed Black women and our healthcare, American Black women, okay? It pushed your issues to the side. We don't have as many clinics. Like I said, I think there should be Black communities in all 50 states, even including Alaska. Health clinics, all that stuff. We don't have a mass of those. We can't listen to the Black people who say, oh, well, we got this and we got that, but they got to understand, we are all over the US. We have been here since the inception of the United States of America, okay? So we can't side with certain Black people in our community who doesn't want to take this serious. We have to talk about the real things that are affecting us Black women in order to progress and heal ourselves. So biologically, this stress activates the hypothalamic, pituitary, adrenal, which is HPA axis, flooding the body with cortisol. Cortisol is meant for emergencies, but when it never shuts off, it wreaks havoc, raising blood pressure, damaging arteries, disrupting hormones, and even altering the immune system. When I say observe, understand, Black women, you're definitely going through these health ailments. You're going through them. Stop denying yourself. It's time to focus on self. A 2020 American Heart Association report revealed that Black women in their 40s show cardiovascular damage normally found in white women 2 decades older. So 40, you're still not even midway of reaching 100. You're still not even a midway to reach that. You're still, in my opinion, and in some older people's opinion, you're still in your prime areas, Black women. And I'll say you're still in your prime because a lot of us, our parents didn't have some of the things established when we were in our 20s, right? Our teens. Okay, so and then some of us who are millennial women in our teens, we were still going to college or barely in college during your 2008 crisis. So we weren't fully adults just yet, right? We were still 18, 19, maybe 20, 21, still becoming, but we weren't fully adults yet. So we're still living off of what our parents had established for us decades before and their parents, right? So I'm saying millennial women, especially, if we don't want to continue into our 40s, because I'm not 40 yet, I'll be going into my 40s soon. But when I look at my family, I look at some of the things that affects my uh, uncles and aunts. I look at it, I observe what people in my family are dealing with and what they're doing. I know some of us have drinkers in our family, smokers, we have bad eating. We have a lot of that in our family. And some of our elders are passing away only because they had health issues. That's literally why they're passing away. It's not because if they didn't have these health issues because they could have prevented them, they wouldn't have had it. And some of our elders are dealing with that because of past trauma with the United States and how they treated Black people. But I'm here to say, even regardless of the system, because I like to try to pull away from the system being the main component or the main culprit, because I don't think that. I don't think like that. I can think of what we're doing, also understanding this. And Black women, the stress is, again, a part of systemic and internal issues that are happening in our community. So this is what Dr. Arlene Geronimius, hopefully I'm saying Dr. Arlene's name right, her last name or his last name, called weathering. The premature aging of our bodies caused by the unrelenting storms of racism, sexism, and poverty. So again, some people want to gaslight you and say this is not it and that's not it. Again, I'm here to say, yes, there is some racism that happens because if it's a systemic issue and people don't want to give you the proper medication or the proper care, then that's a systemic issue. That is a racist issue. Sexism. If people, and I'll say this about racism, in the medical journals, depending on what books you read, again, I've read a lot of stuff. Um, Black women were the main, you could say, lab rat. We were the main lab rats for a lot of what is medical, founded in medical history today in America. We were the lab rats. So a lot of that stuff stems from that. When I see some Black women get into abusive relationships or just going through something, there's some people in my family that have passed away just off of that was just ailments, but they were poor, and they probably didn't believe in the healthcare system, just like we have the same issue with policing, right? We don't believe in those things as much. But, as I spoke again, if we're not putting our daughters and ourselves to stay disciplined and focus in certain areas, when you're going to college, in the healthcare or medical care, it's not about just taking care of people as far as like older people or these lower jobs. It's about learning the skills so that you can start your own clinics. do your own thing. And that's where I'm like, Democrats fucked up because the money should have been going to the black women who were showing and approving and proving we were ready to do our own thing. We didn't see that funding, so there should have been more auditing going on. But no, they pivoted and didn't focus on Americans, right? Now, poverty, sexism, those are two other things that affects us. Poverty is you continuing to be okay with your environment. You're okay with the trauma. You're okay with your sons, your uncles, your dads running around, making more families, terrorizing the community, not cleaning up the community, not building nothing in the community, not protecting the community, and also engage with this stuff. Again, most black women are still, we're starting to see, date out more, you could say, when we're talking about relationships. But when you're seeing your community, even with the guys you want to stay with, right, you still have to demand more of them. You cannot be okay because now you're turning to a it's like a mother-son relationship where you don't expect too much from your kids sometimes, even if it was a daughter, right? You're in mother mode to them. But your mates, it cannot be mother mode to them. You cannot let them feel like you're their mother. I don't even care what kind of man it is. You cannot let them feel like you're a mother to them. You cannot let them come into a relationship wanting what their mother gave them, right? You have to give what your mother gave you, right? You have to just be the woman you're wanting to be. And with that, you have to release the stress. You have to get yourself out of poverty. And the way you do that is education, right? Finding the power within you, the willpower to want to learn, to, not being on your phone, caught up in gossip all the time or these gossip channels. If you're going to watch them, that's cool, but make that be a treat. Make a gossip channel be a treat at the end of the week, right? Like, oh, I'm going to catch up on some gossip because I need my brain to relax from analyzing or thinking of numbers or whatever you're doing. That's kind of what you want to do, but push yourself past that level so you can get yourself out of poverty. Again, these are things that are, could alleviate your stress issues. Okay. Now, and this isn't abstract science. Look at the tragic case of Dr. Shalon Irving, a brilliant CDC epidemiologist who studied health disparities, in Black women. She died at age 36, ladies, just weeks after giving birth. Despite being educated, insured, and an expert in public health, her complaints of pain were ignored until it was too late. If a woman at the top of her field cannot escape the fatal consequences of stress and dismissal, what chance do ordinary Black women have? Stress, then, is not just a feeling, it is a public health emergency. It is a silent killer that shortens Black women's lives by years. We must stop calling it strong Black women when Black women endure the unbearable. Strength should not mean early death. It should mean longevity, wellness, and joy. That's what it should mean. That's what strength is. The question we must ask is not why are Black women dying younger, but why is America okay with the structures that make Black women's bodies carry such a deadly load? Now, we've seen that, Black women. We've seen the continued lab rat stuff they've done and continue to do to us. Internally, your relationships are causing stress. The single mother, situations that you're in causing you stress. Your jobs can cause you stress. Your schools cause you stress, right? Now, is this to say that some of those things aren't positive, obtainable? No, because we still obtain them. We still do it, right? Now, some people, like our counterparts, want to call that masculine, want to say you're doing too much or blah, blah, blah. You got to recognize, Black women, first things first, we are American Black women, right? Our country has been set up to be the number one country in the world, not by just the hands of men, but both men and women. In this country, Black women have contributed since the inception, whether it was under duress, out of duress, whatever it is. We've been go getters, ladies. So that's never going to stop, right? Before we even came here, that's what it was. So if people are attacking your, accomplishments or things you're trying to go and do, they're attacking your health, right? You got to see it as, man, don't try to attack my health. And I'm talking about mental health, again, oppression, discrimination, trauma, all that stuff is an attack. You cannot see this as only white people are doing this to me, or oh, the Vietnamese ladies in the nail shop, or oh, the Latino women over here. Like, you cannot see that as a specific type of people doing that to you, right? You got to understand you have a different playing field. It is very unique compared to other women, very unique because you're an American. So because of that, we have to make sure we're doing things that benefits us as Americans. It'll benefit other women, right, that are here and other Americans. But if we're not positioning ourselves and we're looking up like, oh, well, it is what it is. White people do this, blah, blah, blah. If that's how you want to continue to think, then you're going to continue to be stressed and deal with these health ailments. So these are the issues we need to focus on so that we don't have to deal with that anymore. Or we can work on subsiding those issues. Now, let's dig into the pathway to single motherhood because we see that a lot in our community. Again, I'm not about to sugarcoat nothing. I'm not a single mother, but I've seen it. My mother is currently still a single mom. My dad is not even dead, but she's definitely a single mom. She's been a single mom. And it's not because she wanted to. Again, if we're being real, we know some of our counterparts or the counterparts contribute, engineer that type of situation for women. But Black women, we have to be smarter moving forward so that those situations can't be engineered without our doing, without our saying. A child is not something, a reward, or anything you use to keep a man. It's too many patterns that you have to see. You have to see the patterns. You have to see the pattern. You can't deny those patterns. Some of you are religious, Christian. You cannot deny the patterns, the warnings, the red flags, whatever you want to call them. You cannot deny those things. I am so grateful I seen them as a younger girl. I think I was a teenager when I realized I didn't want that life. When I started to see it, because it wasn't huge that, well, again, I was still young, growing up in the 90s. So I can't say that single motherhood wasn't already, a thing. But as much as we see it today and over the years, it has grown. Now, some people can say, well, how does a Black woman become a single mother? Like, how does that even happen in the first place? Too often the story begins in childhood. Studies show that 60% of Black girls experience coercion, violence, and harassment before the age of 18. It's true. And Black women contribute to that harassment, coercion, violence. You do. Your moms contribute to it, your aunts, your grandmas. And you know how? Because they deny you, they betray you at a very young age. They put the onus on you at a very young age. And what you go out and do, you go out and you repeat that same pattern, that same practice as our mothers did, our aunts did, our grandmas and great grandmas. You're repeating those patterns and not protecting the little girl, not protecting your legacy. It is very important that you protect that legacy. Very important. Layer that with family denial, where mothers, aunts, and uncles silence young girls instead of protecting them. We cannot lie. You cannot deny that's what's going on. I'm not here to talk about other communities. We're talking about us. So we can heal. So we can show up in that Black excellence that we like to promote a lot, Black women. That child grows up with PTSD, anger, and mistrust. How many of you black women sit back and observe other black women? You shun it off as if it was nothing that happened to you because they told you not to report it. They betrayed you. I'm telling you today. I'm coming to you today to tell you were betrayed, man. You were betrayed worse than Judas. You were. So now we got to fix it. Now we got to heal it and move forward. Okay? Because you see an angry little girl, you see her out here wilding, you're quick to call her fast. You're quick to say she's doing this and that. Now, our home, like, did we learn about hormones? Did we learn about any of this stuff? That's why it's important to learn about this stuff when you're being taught in school. It is, I don't believe it should be just the parents teaching sexual education because some of y'all are so embarrassed to teach your children those things. You're embarrassed to tell your young daughter how to use a tampon, a pad, that her breasts are getting big, right? Her acne may be coming because she got hormones. She has to probably dress a certain way because unfortunately there's predators around and other women who are just going to be in denial because they're still protecting predators in our community, so they rather tell you how to dress. And even then, no matter how you dress, you still gonna be attacked. You gotta understand why our young women, our young girls are so angry, black women, why they're upset, why they're ready to cuss out the next black women because they see their mothers, they see their aunts, their grandmas, those who used to beat on them, allow them to be betrayed sexually, allow them to be with older men because that's what it was for grandma and them back then. This ain't that time. The society has changed. Some black women are mentally ill. It's just the truth. It's the facts. We are mentally ill. So mentally ill that you abuse your daughters. You do. You don't want to be wrong. Your kids go to school, learn something, and they tell you something. You mad. Didn't you send them to school to be better? And they come in with different thought just because you can't think like that. And then you guess what that mindset does? It continues to go down where you got black women who are in bullying groups, gossip too much to attack someone, and a lot of these things, the law could to get y'all can be in trouble by the law. You can't just harass somebody. You can't gang stalk somebody. That's what I'm saying. We have to leave the ignorant street talk, hood talk, ghetto talk. We got to leave that mindset. It's a mindset you have to leave because it doesn't make sense when we have the law here on the curb and beyond. It doesn't make sense. You can get in trouble for that. You don't have to be out here feeling mad about that. What black women can do because you experience violence so much in your community, you need to get the law involved. You need to figure out how to better our relationships. We have to stop being. We're already dying, so what? Why are we scared? We can't even be scared no more. We got women dying in vain. Black women, they're dying in vain. We can take control, but we got to stop letting women die in vain and pointing the finger back at them. You can't be ignorant no more. It's 2025. You can't. There's no way to continue to allow other black people to be ignorant and say the most ignorant stuff at their mouth in 2025. Again, especially when you went out and got your education, you became disciplined. There is nothing wrong with that. Someone trying to down you on that, they didn't have discipline and they're upset. They take you talking with proper education and backed up education, meaning you're backed up by stats, you're backed up by understanding science, whatever it is field you're in, you're backed up by it because it's a society thing, right? And that's how people start making more money. That's how we build some of this stuff around here. That's how medical science gets better. All this stuff get better because these people like yourself went and got an education. So someone attacking that is incapable of even thinking of building. They're just talking, but they're not even thinking of building. They don't even be in their garages building nothing. Just talking. Cutting grass isn't building something. That's managing, manicuring. Same as you would go do your nails. Same as you would cut your hair on your armpits or wherever it is in your body. Same thing. but not really building something. And we can see that by our communities. We can't look at a couple here and a couple there buying land and like, let's build with ourselves, Black women. We could fare way better. We could have more than that. Like I said, if we had Black communities in every 50, like every state out of all the 50 states we have, if we had a Black community where we all knew each other, I mean, we don't have to know each other, but we connected economically, right? We built up these communities, right? If those were things we had, it can be a little different, but we don't have that. We don't even think about that. A lot of us are comfortable where we're at, and we have to push past that comfort level now. It's going to be scary. It is scary. But if you look at all the stuff we've been through, stuff we're going through now, as I'm going through these presentations, it shouldn't be any difference. Again, a lot of Black women are dying in vain because we just refuse to stand up sometimes. We do. We are ready to talk about every other issue that doesn't truly affect us and our younger girls. Now, again, a young girl is growing up with PTSD, anger, and mistrust. Go read what those are and share them among other Black women. And you keep sharing those things. You go to a therapist or a psychiatrist, read some medical journals so you can understand it. So you're not quick to call a young girl fast. You can be more quick to say, no, this person is being a predator. Because it is only our community that truly says that about a young girl, especially being 5 years old. Like, some of y'all got some issues. Like, real talk. Real talk. But and I'm saying that you're the same mothers that we're dealing with. The same mothers, in my opinion, you're the same mothers that Black women, young Black girls have to deal with because of your ignorance, your refusal to be educated, your refusal to be like, oh, I'm this and that. You're stressed. So now you pass that down to everyone else. I don't know if you know, newsflash, Black women, we never had to be so dependent upon our counterpart. It's just a newsflash. I don't know if it's news to y'all, but we never really had that. I don't care for the women that had to. We just never really had to do that. Even if we can go back to our heritage and lineage in Africa, that's just never been the thing. That's just not our general culture. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But here in America, again, we have a unique situation where we got to start shifting it, right? We want to live softer lives. We want all that. That means we got to shift a lot of things right now. Our health is a priority, Black women. By the time that young girl enters adulthood, she may seek validation through relationships that are not safe or supportive. We see that a lot. We see that a lot. When men abandon, neglect, or perpetuate violence, she becomes a single mother, not by choice, but by survival. So, a lot of the single mothers, in my opinion, a lot of them are single mothers because of abandonment, neglect, and violence. Also, stemming from when you were a girl, if you were part of that 60%, and then when you became an adult and you became a single mother because of these particular things, you're a part of that 40%. Let's stop listening to the Black woman who says, oh, it ain't never happened to me. Man, we can't, if we are thinking of Black excellence, it can't be about what I don't go through. Again, I'm not a single mom. I've never had to really go through that. I've gone through people talking shit about me, trying to attack my education, all that stuff. But I've been continuing to fare better, like continuing to do better and better and better. So it's obviously those things don't affect me the way those people wanted to, right? Because they already given up on themselves. I don't think like everybody. And some people have an issue with that, right? I don't have an issue with it. I'm a great representative of Black excellence in my own way. But if we're pushing out single mother, we're letting narratives and campaigns. I don't even like the word narrative now because people abuse that word. But campaigning against your image, against the real truth, and you're sitting back allowing it instead of holding the mirror and comparing to other communities, then, of course you're going to be stressed. PTSD. You're willing to speak up and speak out about some slight some other Black women did, but you're not able to speak up about your young girls. There's a problem there, Black women. Some of us are mentally ill and we refuse to get the help. There's more Black women who are psychologists, psychiatrists out there. Go seek them out. Sisters who get into that field, don't get into it and be like, oh, I want the money. The money's going to come. The craft, the skill is very important because if you want to have your own practice one day, this is these are the people you want to come to you. And other women from other communities want to come to you as well. They want you to help them. This is why it's important for your skills, your education, and not allowing a subset of the community to affect your progress or what you're trying to pursue. So blaming single Black mothers ignores the pipeline of betrayal, neglect, and silence that created her circumstances. The issue is not independence. The issue is compounded stress from abandonment and trauma that forces her to carry both economic and emotional loads alone, Black women. Stop letting ignorance try to tell you what it is. We have the science, we have everything to put a name on it. Words mean things. To deny that is to deny the discipline, the education, the pursuit of what you needed to do in order to survive. It denies that. And then you allow other women and young Black girls to die in vain because you didn't want to step up. It takes all of us. It's not just me, it's all of us. These presentations are just to show the playing field, just to map out how do we get here? How are we thinking like this? Why are some of us so angry? This is why we're angry. We're stressed out. You can't deny it. You can lie all you want, but you are. To think you're okay. You don't have to be strong for in front of another Black woman like that. You shouldn't have to be because we should already recognize what's going on. That's how keen we should be with each other more than anyone else. But we don't do that. So we have to understand why single motherhood is the way it is right now and why that's causing more stress on those Black women. Now, let's get to. Now, I did talk before in the previous presentation, I believe, or maybe some of the previous ones, about the adultification of Black girls. Research shows that Black girls are often treated as older than they are. Georgetown Law's 2017 Girlhood Interrupted study found that Black girls as young as 5 are seen as less innocent and more adult like compared to white girls. This means less protection, harsher discipline, and higher expectations. A 13-year-old Black girl is told she knows better, while her male counterpart is given excuses, autism, ADHD, or boys will be boys. This double standard creates stress early. Black girls internalize that their pain doesn't matter. They are told to endure, to be strong, to hush about molestation, and to accept punishment as their lot. The childhood weathering sets the stage for adult health crisis, anxiety, hypertension, depression, and autoimmune disease Have black women, have you seen other black women in their mentally ill state? Some of your gossip groups, some of the ways you attack black women, it's a straight up mental illness. Now, I'm not saying all of y'all went through some of this stuff, but it's definitely your mothers could have. And that's where you're getting it from. People in your community have, your friends, the peers that you are amongst that's doing that with you, they have. They're so angry. They just want to fight another black girl. Oh, I just want to fight. We know those type of women. We know those type of girls. Why don't we know what's going on with them? They're sick and tired of poverty. They're sick and tired of not having what they need. They're sick and tired of being told they're not good enough. They're sick and tired of it. But if you are adultifying someone as young as 5 years old, something's wrong with you. It's you who have the issue. A 5 year old should be a 5 year old. Not you are. We are so keen on watching that young girl more than watching the males, the people that are predating on them. We're not ready to kick them out the family reunion. Tell them not to come to the cookouts. We still inviting them to the cookouts, but let it be somebody who's white. You don't want to invite them, and they didn't even do nothing. You see how warped your minds are, how unintelligent those thoughts are. They need to not be there. You need to not be in my house. Who, if you're gonna do that, you're gonna go. Bye. Go spend some time in jail. Go get some help. I don't care how you got to do it. You need to go. That's literally what you guys got to do. Again, one of the presentations of looking at the female species in the wild, and we're taking the lions for example. At a certain age, those male cubs got to go. They got to go. The only one who's the true disciplinarian there to make sure they go is that male lion. So just having any man doesn't make sense. When he's there, he says, I'm protecting, I'm providing. Look at these things, ladies. You have to observe. You have to be connected and understand all this stuff connects us. It makes sense. We are not far off. We wondering what's going on. I'm telling you what's going on. I'm telling you. Women, younger, we want to be with a man, a good man, a nice man, a well to do man, a gentleman. I've come across many of them in my life. I have. But I'm still disgusted by the nature of most of them. It's disappointing that we as black women are continuing to cover up for these four men instead of protecting our children. When women say they don't want to have kids, you have to understand why. You have to look at this information and you have to look at it in a timeline, a way that paints the picture of what's going on. And these are the reasons why. Some of us don't even put names to it, labels to it. I'm helping you today. I'm helping you today. So this adultification, it also comes from us. We have to stop that. If it's a child, we have to treat that child like a child. We can't be out here, oh, well, she know what she was doing. She was fat. You're letting males, push that, and then some of you are backing them up. You have to be out your damn mind. You are okay with that. And then media plays on your mentality because I bet you some of you look at young white girls who are pushed in the media and saved and all this stuff. I bet you feel way differently about them compared to the young ladies that are black in our own community. So it's one thing to know that it's a propaganda, a media, but it's a second thing to make sure that our young girls have to be adult level. We have to already be thinking like that. And that's just not the truth. We can't lie about that. Yeah, we are. A lot of us are very intelligent. We know how to move. I'm not saying no one is sneaky. Kids ain't sneaky. Kids don't do. That's just natural human stuff. Yes, it happens. I've done stuff when I was young, but the truth is, as a child, you don't think about that stuff. It's adrenaline rush. It's something you want to do. It's oh, I can do this, or hey, I'm gonna do. That's literally how it is. But as adults, we should have went through a change to where our consciousness is different, but we don't allow that. We still have the same arrested women, black women. Y'all got arrested development too. I'm not sugarcoating. You do. Some of you are still in high school, and this is why some of our young girls are suffering. Now, let's move on to the biology of the stress. Let's dig into that just for a moment. Cortisol is the stress hormone, but in black women, it works overtime. Studies in psychoneural doctrinology, psychoneural in doctrinology, so I'm sorry about that, show that black women have flatter diurnal cortisol slopes, meaning their stress never fully shuts off. This is linked to higher risk of breast cancer, stroke, and metabolic disorders. We know tons of black women who have strokes. I've seen them be having a stroke because she's stressed and want to lie about it. Don't want to take care of herself. Don't understand that she's stressed. She puts it up. She don't even have a name to put to it. This is why this is here, so you can put a name to what the hell you're going through. You're stressed. Think of it like this. While other women get to recharge, black women's stress response is like a car engine left running 24/7. It wears out faster. The result, shorter life expectancy, earlier onset of chronic diseases, and even impacts on children's DNA through epigenetics. Stress is literally inherited, black women. Now, I remember when I was working for well, it was a contract position, but it was for Google. And the west side of LA, when you're going like towards Santa Monica, those areas. I remember I would have to walk to work a couple times because again, I went through stuff just because so I can be who I am today and who I'm looking to be in the future. But I remember seeing white women just being able to, take their kids on walks, work out at any time of the day, it seemed, just out and about having lunch together. It doesn't seem like they're going to work. I've seen that. I'm not saying it's all, but I've seen that on that side. And then when I look at us as black women, I don't see that. So our counterparts attacked you for not working out. They attacked you for not being as feminine. But we obviously don't have a majority of you resting like that to be able to be like, yeah, I'm just about to go out and work out. No, it doesn't happen that way. Some areas, a very small percentage of black people and black women are living like that. And now you're having this independent survival or this independent thing now turn into something negative where black women are having to go and create those lives for themselves. When I was younger, I did want to travel more. I remember I got my passport very early, probably in like 2007, 2008 era. That's when I had my passport. But I didn't even get to go a lot of places because financially I still wasn't there. Meaning I wanted to feel comfortable. I don't want to be worried about coming back to work and having to make up for stuff or having to worry about my rent or a car note or any of that crap. I don't want to come home worrying about any of that shit. I want to be taken care of already and going to be taken care of the next time. I don't want to have to be making up for it. I don't want to have to work overtime for no damn reason and I'm not getting paid for it. Right? That was just me. But when I got into my 30s and my career started to take off, because now I'm hitting 70, 80, 90, 100 something K. And again, I still didn't have no kids because I already knew this is before this whole little, this new era of women not having kids. I was already thinking like that before this era even came. Like I was gonna bring kids into this world. I remember having dogs and I could not take care of them because I was still broke. I couldn't take care of them. I wasn't feeding myself the way I feed myself now because I was broke. So I was like, man, if I can't take care of a pet, I can't take care of myself. What do I look like trying to bring a child in the world just for the fuck of it? Just because my mama and other women in your community have an ignorance to them and say they just want a grandchild or they just want you to have a baby or you got friends telling you I just want you to have a baby and they single mamas they damn self. What kind of ignorant shit is that to be telling other black women? Mentally ill, in my opinion, just mentally ill. So me not doing that, I got to travel more now. Now I can go anywhere I want. And I found better ways that I can get there that doesn't kill me financially, as it probably would have back then. I'm smarter now with my finances. I have more skills now that I don't have to truly worry about if a job is going to fire me or not. When I worry about those things and I stress, it's because I didn't get my money right. I didn't save the way I needed to. I didn't invest in the things I needed to. That's why I talked about investing as a part of your growth tour. I call it a growth tour, but just as your journey, investing, understanding why you need to invest. It ain't about just your man, ladies. Because of that, because of that, we are dealing with chronic issues. You're too stressed taking care of your children. Humans are different than the wildlife, meaning our conscience is different. So allowing your men to get away with, oh, well, poly relationships or cheating or DL behavior or, it's okay to cheat or creating engineering situations where you're yelling and cussing and fighting all the time. Like that's not normal, black women, and it's causing you stress. Some of that is why some of us are dealing with more mortality issues when it comes to birth because your body is already dealing with the stress. Okay? So I'm saying there's black women who passed away at very early ages because of these stress factors, and it makes sense to figure it out now so that your legacy and your young women, your young daughters, your nieces, your granddaughters, your great granddaughters makes sense. This is why you need to figure it out now, black women, millennial women. We can figure it out right now. We can stop it right now if we choose. It's just a choice. It's a decision. Just a decision to make. Now, a little bit more on rewriting the biology, right? Now, the overproduction, the domino effect is that the organ systems, I know an auntie of mine died because she couldn't breathe. Who knows what she was dealing with? I have uncles and aunts who's passing away because of diabetes. This stuff leads to that too. The eating habits, all of that stuff. Because you got people all day trying to tell you that you think too highly of yourself. You too independent. You don't need a man. You got these people talking all kind of stuff. You can be accomplished or not. They're talking all kind of stuff. All of us have to step back and say, what the hell is that about? And why is that going on? We can't overlook it because of blackness or whatever the hell we want to call it. We can't continue to be ignorant. Like it's it's disgusting that some of us want to continue to be ignorant and think that's okay and that's cool and wonder why other communities look at you crazy, don't want to hire, don't want to fuck with you. It's literally because some of that mindset is being pushed other than being smart, other than being educated, because again, you were disciplined enough, ladies, to go out and do the work. You were disciplined enough. 80% fibroids by age 50. I know some women who have that, and they're, to me, they were young. I'm like, what? Lupus, all of these things. Do we give a damn about our health, black women? Do we give a damn? If we give a damn, we're gonna show up and we're gonna vote like we give a damn about our health, right? We're not voting for illegal immigrants' health. We're not voting for just men's health. We're voting for our health, which helps other Americans' health. So even this whole Medicare, Medicaid issues that are going on politically, this matters. This matters, right? It matters. Now let's talk about the stress to crime and punishment. Black women are often punished for stress responses that will be understood differently in others. Anger becomes aggression. Defensiveness becomes attitude. Survival tactics are criminalized. Data from the Bureau of Justice Statistics show that black women are disproportionately arrested for minor offenses like shoplifting, welfare fraud, and survival based crimes. Behind those numbers are stories of women trying to feed children, escape abuse, or cope with untreated trauma. While black men's crimes are often discussed through the lens of systemic racism, black women's crimes are portrayed as moral failings. The stress to punishment pipeline is real, and it stigmatizes black women further. So even ourselves, our crime, there are some heinous crimes, don't get me wrong. That's what I'm saying. When we look at our mothers, there's abusive mothers who are abusing the hell out of their kids. But most of the crimes are theft. When you see some of these YouTube channels and you see these black women, most of the things the black women in those are doing is stealing something, right? Shoplifting, right? And scamming. Those are the main two things that you would see a black woman doing. Everything on top of that, her lying about it, acting up, yelling, all this other stuff are, these stereotypes people want to put to it. But again, a lot of people are ignorant, in my opinion. It's no different from someone from another community who does the same thing, and they may or may not yell, or they may cuss somebody the fuck out. But if it's a black woman, they just don't like you doing it. So we have to deal with that, right? We have to not see it as, we have to see it on the same level as we're saying, oh, well, if you're punishing this person for a crime, and they're black and they're male, you want them to punish a white guy the same way. You have to see it the same way too, black woman, for yourself. For yourself. You can't be getting shot and killed because you just stealing, but your theft is also why some of these stores are closed. But again, the stress, the trauma, not trying to be educated, not pursuing a better career, skills is why you'll continue to feel like you need to steal something, why you need to commit robberies and stuff with counterparts who don't want to do better, why you feel you need to shoplift or commit welfare fraud, why you even need to feel like you need to stay on welfare forever when you don't. That's nothing. If you go out and get some skills, I'm telling you, your life is going to change. It's going to change, and you're going to feel way more empowered because you're like, man, I can do anything I want with this skill. I don't have to sit here and mope all day and be mad all day and stress out because I ain't got no money. I've seen what that looks like. I'm so grateful. I never truly tried to stress about that because I knew if I kept going, if I kept keeping my heads in them books, when other people wanted to party, I sacrificed. Some people didn't like that I was smarter than them. They don't, I don't even come off smart. They just immediately do that. They don't like it. In our community, I'm not even talking about no one else's, our community. You don't even like it. But should I give a damn? Did that stop me from reaching 100K, 120K, 150K? No, it did not. It did not stop anything because I knew I was not the problem. I was not the issue. I don't care what they bring up. Like, it's still nothing that is as heinous as stealing. I ain't never really stole from a bitch. I ain't never did none of that. I ain't had to commit no fraud. I didn't have to shoplift. I did none of those things because I knew what I was going to become. I was already saying to myself at a young age, I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I wanted to be a medical doctor to help cure cancers and stuff like that. That was my mindset, and I'm grateful that I was in probably in certain schools and different environments that had me think that way. I didn't really take it serious till probably mid to late 20s, but I knew I wanted to be something bigger than saying I wanted to do sex work just because. I wanted to be a hoe for a nigga just because. No. What is the fun in that? Where's the money in that? I don't want nobody controlling what I want to be, telling me what I should be. We got people in our community that literally want to tell other black women what they should and should not be. Like, as if they some white person telling some other black person you can't be a doctor. That is just no possible way. We got people in our community that do the same damn thing. But guess what? That didn't matter to me. That was their opinion. That was how they chose to see me, right? They chose that. A lot of black women, people in our community choose to see you in a certain light. This is, again, I don't want to talk about the systemic stuff and the racist stuff out there because even then, black women have gotten into roles and positions. We still need to aim for more and more higher management positions, you know, and we need to be like, who gives a damn about someone talking about, oh, we don't want to work under black women for some reason. That's because they ain't never really worked under no real coach. They ain't never worked under nobody who worked their ass off. They're trying to say, oh, they want to see you struggle and this is that. No, sometimes, depending on the job, because they can't be, again, here in America, we have labor laws and stuff. As long as they're not violating those things, those laws that you have, then sometimes it's more about you getting to the next level. Some of y'all just not used to those black women. I've been around them, so I know what those black women look like as far as getting me to the next level and appreciating me, congratulating me when I got there, because they just wanted me to work hard. They just wanted me to go harder, so they can give me that position because they know I earned it. But you have some of y'all out here already trying to tear down each other in the professional field. It's insane to think about that. It's really insane. Now, let's talk about this case study because we need to understand a little bit more about how the community, the environments that we allow to continue to prosper in our community affects us. In 2023, a black woman opened up a restaurant in Atlanta after 5 years of saving. Within weeks, it was vandalized multiple times. She spoke to local media saying, "I just wanted to bring something positive to the community, but it just feels like I'm being punished for trying." Her story reflects a pattern, because she's not the only one, black woman. It's a pattern. If we're paying attention and observing, and we're being real with ourselves, black women entrepreneurs often face sabotage, not only from systemic barriers like loan denials, but also from crime within their communities. The result is double stress, economic vulnerability, and physical insecurity. These incidents destroy wealth building opportunities and reinforce stereotypes that black neighborhoods can't sustain thriving businesses. So, regardless of the systemic stuff we want to blame it on, regardless of that we can vote differently to help fight those things. We can ensure policies are in place. We can ensure our children are going into these fields so that policies are affected better, right? We can work on fixing those bigger systemic things. But if those are fixed and the community is still doing what it's doing, I mean, how are you going to ever progress, Black women? How can you do trade agreements if a Vietnamese lady who owns a nail shop and wants to hire or work with you? How can she work with you knowing that your stuff is going to be damaged? So how are you going to pay her back through the supply chain? How are you going to get her money back if you're allowing and you're not reporting the crime? It's several Black women I've seen this happen to, and you probably know of more because you got haters in the community. They want Black excellence, but they don't want you to be excellent. They got a problem with you because we've been promoting our counterparts to be the leaders and all this. And I'm coming here to tell you, we ain't never had to work like that ever. That's an idea of America. That's an idea of us, of the other community here. It's not our identity. It's not our true identity, our core identity. We were supposed to be working together side by side. And if this is going on, then you have to also say, where is that protection? Because it shouldn't be protecting, oh, my family and this. It should be like, no, we need to protect this Black woman's business because it's going to provide jobs. Those jobs will lead to other, ventures possibly. Because if this woman grows, she got supply chain, she got manufacturing shops. So this continues to supply jobs to people in her community. It grows and it grows and it grows. But because our counterparts have failed us in seeing this, betrayed us in seeing the bigger picture, they allow these attacks to go on. They allowed this whole the federal government, and this is how ignorant our people are. The federal government let go 300,000 something women. The federal government. It didn't say all Black women were losing their jobs. How many Black women are working? What's the percentage of 300,000 out of millions of Black women that's working? But it was enough to show like, hey, in the federal government, this was big, right? But we allow the counterparts to just yap with their ignorance, their illiteracy, their insecurities, their bitterness, their brokenheartedness, their hate. We allow that idea, those thoughts, to be the loudest in the room, to tell those women that's what you get. Oh, well, you're getting treated just like how Black men getting treated. What? What? Well, don't you think you should have went to Plan B and worked with your women? But no, you did not. This is what I'm showing you, Black women. This is why you're stressing. So if our counterparts can't help, we have to start gaining local political power, civic power, so that we can get law enforcement, lawyers, judges, sheriffs that will protect our communities just like anyone else's. Even when banks don't want to do, we have other ways. We now, you guys know from the last presentation. Now, I think it was the last one or the one before that, how we need to work with other women of other communities. Letting our counterparts put us on an island is detrimental to your success. You have to look at it as why would someone not want me to succeed? What is the issue with me succeeding? Because again, you are competing on the levels you need to compete in this greater society with other women. You are. But our businesses can do better because we need to do higher revenue. We need better supply chains. We need better manufacturing and processing. We need to have women that know international law, international trade agreements, international. We need these levels of Black women so that we can continue to say, yo, we can still be with the man. If that's what some of y'all, that's what y'all want. You could still be with some man out there who's going to appreciate that, who understands what that looks like, because they're into that. Their daughters, their mothers, they're into that stuff. We are very unique. So there's nothing wrong with that, right? So you have to understand why you can allow people to do that, which affects you economically and provides more stress because the bank, if the bank's not giving you crazy money to help, then guess what? Someone comes and mess up your building, that's coming back out of your pocket again, right? If we had the ROSCAs in our community amongst us as women, then we can say, yo, we pay for security. We protect those type of businesses in our communities. We protect those corridors in our communities. No one touches them. We don't care if they want to be a gang or not. No one comes here. No one touches them. That's just what it's going to be. So we can shift the control of our communities, but we all have to be ready to shift it. We cannot be afraid. It's black women. I'm telling you, a lot of you are afraid, regardless if you want to lie about it or not. I know you are. You ain't got to lie to me, Craig. I know you are. So let's go to the next slide here. Now, the crime and image, because I wanted to bring up the crimes of Black women. I think it's very important that we understand why some of us are going out and committing crimes like scamming, theft, being involved with other ignorant people, counterparts, to think it's cool, think you're going to be the girl. No, it's theft, girl. Why would you want to be in somebody's prison? Black women have done so much for you, so much more for you to even look forward to. Like in our community, every Black girl that grows up can say, yo, I can go out and be this, and that. I really don't have to rely on stripping and hoeing. I really don't, because it's not, saturated enough in different fields for Black women. So more of us in different fields makes sense. More lawyers, more judges, medical doctors, scientists, statisticians. All of these particular areas can still be filled by Black women. So there is a lot of opportunity, and our young Black girls have to know that that is possible. It's possible for them. But if we're not reporting, if we're not talking about the stuff that's going on, the issues, and getting things reported and standing up in it, meaning you need to protect yourselves. If you need some combat training, working out, these are ways it's going to relieve your stress, but they're going to empower you. Being smart about stuff, teaching your daughters to be smart about it, getting your weapons. There's no more homosexuals. We don't just think men are fine and let him in the house and he ain't got a dime or a pot to piss in. Like, he could be fine on the streets, okay? Like, stop. Let's stop awarding men like that, because now you got men who aren't contributing like they should be. We don't see it. We don't see it. I'm being real. It's not there. I don't care what they're saying. I don't care all the puppy tears. We don't have it. So it makes sense that you are more independent, right? Because you don't have stuff. They don't understand the survival, right? They don't understand that stuff. They're just now catching on and trying to one up you. And they could have been doing this stuff, right? They could have been doing this stuff as in general. We're not talking about the few specks here and there. They get so mad that they want to focus on the little specks here and there instead of the bigger picture. I'm giving you the bigger picture of Black women, from a young girl to an older woman who may be going through issues and who's not going through issues. I'm giving you the full picture. I'm not here to lie and say, no, this is all Black women doing. No, I'm not doing that. I've seen us at every level, ladies. I've seen us at every level, right? So let's talk about crimes for Black women. Crimes committed by Black women are relatively low compared to men, but they disproportionately shape public perception. The FBI's uniform crime reports show higher representation of Black women in property crimes, theft, and fraud. These offenses are often tied to poverty and survival, yet they fuel stereotypes of dishonesty. Go on YouTube and just start clicking on certain crime channels that just have a focus on Black women, right? Just go on them and observe them, listen, look at the detail, listen to the detail, listen to what she's saying, listen to what they're saying. Don't just go with an unbiased viewpoint. Okay? Don't be immediately ready to jump on somebody because they white, the officers because they white, or back the woman up because she just understand the situation. Because these same women are amongst you. Just observe first. Because we do see this is happening. And it picked up for some women. So now people think they can't trust you. You got a president who is putting pretty much property crimes on two of the top black women, two top black women, top professional black women, right? Trying to put property crimes on them. We see the thefts, the stealing, Lululemon, and all these other stores. Again, I don't give a damn about what other communities are doing. This is about us and our crime issues, black women. Other communities use these narratives to justify exclusion from trade deals, partnerships, and support networks. So now this affects the black woman who never goes out and does anything like that. Why would you want us all to be down there with the lowest of us? When again, it's not too saturated of a market for us. It's not. So, and then again, our situation is so unique. We've been dealing with systemic stuff. So if that systemic stuff was out the door, what are we doing internally? Are we still contributing to stuff that systemically still affects us? Yes, we are. Right? That's why those young girls matter when stuff is happening at a very young age. It matters. The attitudes, their hormones, the changes that they're going through, all that shit matters. Me, I've gotten angry, and sometimes because my period was coming, emotional because my period is coming. You got counterparts and people out here talking about women are emotional, but they don't know anything about a menstrual cycle. They just know about having sex and a baby comes out. We have to do better and not lay down with people who think like that, because that means they're not uh, father material nor husband material thinking like that. They have books, education, there's libraries still existing. So there's really no choice. There's no excuse even to not be educated about this stuff. Biology books, a lot of them are still struggling because they chose to be amongst peers who also down education of them, and they just allowed it, versus black women saying, yo, we're going to continue to pursue, do our thing, and we're going to only be with men who are also pursuing because it shows he's disciplined. Again, I'm not talking about a particular I'm open to other men. I'm just saying, when you see that, when a man is about his craft, just like you are, it's important because your children are going to have a way to do something. They're not just going to grow up and can't be proud of something, can't know how to fix a plane, a car, or do a science project or any of that stuff. They won't be able to feel like they are failures, which some kids may feel because of their situation in poverty. And the only way those kids feel, at least I guess, comparable to the kids that have got things or got parents who raise them differently, is getting some Jordans or getting some hair or getting their nails done. That to them makes them feel like they're on the same level as a child who is a straight A student and valedictorian, or they got a good job. They really want to feel like they're on there. Like when I grew up, it's first, second, third, fourth, fifth place. I don't believe in rewarding a second place person, putting them on the first place podium. I don't believe in that. We have to also be real. That's just not how the world works, right? It just doesn't work like that. The best of the best are just the best of the best. And a lot of us just have to appreciate those people. But it doesn't take away from you. The heart operates differently than the lung. The lung is different from the kidney, the stomach, the brain, the eyes, the fingers. Everything is different. Again, observe, ground yourself, and see how your body parts are different from each other, right? but they all contribute to the bigger picture. Your health, your mental health, your strength, your charisma, whatever it is, it contributes to the bigger picture of you operating, walking, running, moving your hands, grabbing something, right? Hearing, seeing, speaking. All those things contribute. So it makes sense, right? So other communities, again, they use these narratives to justify exclusion. So the exclusion that you're seeing is because, again, I believe it's propaganda mostly. But when we as Black women aren't promoting more of the positive women in our communities, meaning we're contributing to the gossip, we're, in comments, also contributing to the degradation of the image of the Black woman, instead of uplifting, saying, "Hey, yeah, we know there's Black women like that. We have programs that we're trying to put together in each community for young girls, and but we also have Black women that are in finance and have their MBA, and let's look what this sister is doing. You know what I'm saying? Let's look what that woman is doing. We need to start doing that. We can't just be like, buy from a Black woman. We need to just show ourselves. We need our images to show ourselves. We can't also always continue to show ourselves in service in others and tying religion to it. I think that still, in a way, detriments us, because we show like, oh well, we'll lay down, we'll serve anybody, instead of showing ourselves at the top. You know, we are American, ladies. We have a lot of resources and opportunity here. We don't have to, do crimes and theft and fraud. We really don't, because it's not saturated enough for Black women or women in general. It's not saturated. That means there's so many opportunities for women in this world that someone choosing to do that just have to be off their rocker. Something's wrong with them, and they need to be put in somebody's hospital or behind somebody's bars in a prison. But outside of that, there's so many opportunities. A young Black woman doesn't have to think about going into a gang or prostituting herself or thinking she needs to prostitute other women, because there's so many opportunities. But you know why they go through that? Again, I just went through why young girls are already treated in a certain manner. So they have that same mentality, like, nobody, everybody's gonna betray me, so why not betray everybody else, right? Are we paying attention, Black women? Other communities use these narratives to justify exclusion from trade deals, partnerships, and support networks, which we need. Meanwhile, white collar crimes by others, embezzlement, tax fraud, are downplayed. Again, we know that, right? We know that. However, we need to continue to clean up these images. Today, we have better ways to control media and propaganda today. But guess what most of us do? We have gossip channels, we have comedic channels, we want to dance. We're using social media to literally do certain things. And there's Black women who are good professionals, good at their crafts, like good at a lot of stuff, and we're not even supporting those channels. Those channels should have at least a million plus people subscribe to them. But we're so worried about, oh well, the other people and this and that. We can't think like that. In our unique situation, we cannot think like that. Right now is a great opportunity as an American woman to go and get it. Okay? Now the result, Black women are doubly punished, once by the law and again in the court of public opinion. And again, our counterparts contributed to this public opinion. They took your mothers, your aunts telling them that men wasn't shit. And I'm talking to you, millennial women. They took all of that and they applied it to you. And they're applying it to Gen Z, our counterparts. This is what they're doing. They assisted in destroying the image of the Black women because of their misunderstanding, because of their ignorance. They sided with white supremacists. They sided with them. They hated the fact that other men were open to your success. They hated that. They compared you in the sexual marketplace to other women who ain't even in America, who ain't even got the opportunities you got. They sided with that. We have to be real about our situation so we can change it, heal from it, and move forward. So, crime is an issue for Black women because of survival. And if we're still surviving and we think, oh, because I got my man or whatever, like, sit, like, girl, it's not about that. They don't want to see the bigger picture. We can't have women talking about we got $1 trillion in spending power, but she's ignorant to being just a consumer and not understanding how that is not a great look to have. We got Black women still repeating old shit that was ignorant back then. Angry, want to be soldiers and warriors for counterparts that still won't back you up, that think you just talking and man, I ain't help. Like, come on now. We got to be real. We got to move in silence if we need to, but we have to be real. We have to want to work with people out in this world. We can't be on an island. We were never on an island. We got to stop thinking like that. Everybody works together but us. We don't want we want to talk about everything we invented. We allow our counterparts to promote everything we invented. We are that's black and that's black. As soon as they hear about some other race possibly having black, what they want to do, they want to go after the women instead of thinking of, okay, how can we do trade deals? How can we work better? They don't even talk about that shit to them because they don't know how, but they want to be leaders. You've been that leader. You've been the standard the entire time. And I'm telling you now, we just have to heal and clean this up. All right. Now, stress to stereotype to punishment. Let me just give you three things. Stress. Black women endure chronic stress from abuse, neglect, poverty, and racism. So we have to focus on these four areas under stress. There's other things, your job and stuff like that. Some of us aren't dealing with all four. Some of us dealing maybe with one, maybe the other. Some of us don't even deal with any of this stuff in our lives. Sometimes you are and don't even know indirectly you're dealing with it. But stress, creates more ailments in us. So we have to figure out how to relieve the stress of Black women. Stereotypes. Their survival behaviors are misread as aggression, laziness, or dishonesty. Even though Black women have been working in this country since we were kidnapped and brought here, our ancestors, I don't want to say we, because we didn't experience that, but we experienced the systemic racism, systemic issues today, right? Still. But since then, we have never stopped working. So it is a lie to even promote welfare queens or any of that when the forced requirement is that Black women are working. The aggression. You already looked at as you have an attitude, you angry. I mean, that happened to me. My own mother did some shit like that. Like, you can't even be sitting there thinking about the world or something you want to do without them saying you have an attitude. You angry because you're standing up for yourself. Some of you think you need to stand up for yourself every time, and that's also not a good thing. You don't need to be cussing out everybody. There's really better ways to handle it because now you got to understand when you got the law on your side, when we have more lawyers and sheriffs, better sheriffs, and judges and all that. When you vote better, now you say, okay, I'm going to the law and I'm filing harassment charges. a civil suit. It's like white people understand this because it does affect them. Like I don't understand how you're not seeing that pattern in practice, how that affects those type of people. When we talk about racist people, it affects them when they get fired, when their whole groups get shut down. It affects them. You know, getting winning court cases where I think a black woman ended up uh, owning one of the Klan chapters. These things really happen, you know. But if your attitude all day is that everybody is racist, everybody don't want to see you shine, and blah blah blah, you would never know of these things that are happening positively for Black women. Again, I had to point out that Democrats, because they pivoted to focus on immigration policies, they totally, through 2008, they totally pretty much forgot about Black people. And this is why you never recovered, your parents never recovered from the 2008 crash. Or someone is speaking about how the gig economy became a thing. Because to me, when I was, studying software engineering and all that, these sharing economy, these gig economies like Uber and all of them, that was just something to fill in. But now you have people who sees it as that's their job, and so they want to be treated as if it's a job now. Yet there's been independent contractors for forever now. You see that it starts to become ignorant, and you don't have to be like that. You could have been started stuff like that too, Black women, even myself. I could have been started these things, but going through stress, trauma, depression, PTSD, all those things affect us where we're not truly getting to the next level sometimes. We don't get to the next levels. Punishment. They are criminalized, excluded from opportunities, or dismissed in healthcare. That still goes on. Like I said, the inception of our healthcare system here in the US was mostly because Black women were the guinea pigs, Black people in general. But Black women were the guinea pigs for a lot of the medical tools and things that you see. They still think that Black people, especially Black women, can take more pain. They don't prescribe you the right medication. They mistreat you when you come in. Like they don't even want to touch you. They don't want to deal with you. Because of course you hurting just is an ignorance, or you're doing too much. Medical journals, medical notes, they still saying racist shit about you. And to me, those people, I don't even know how they even passed. I don't even know how they even got far. Like, I just feel like, why is someone who thinks like that is even a doctor? Like it doesn't even make sense to me. Like, how did you even get there thinking like that? Like, did you even study? Like, they just passed your ass through, huh? Like, that's how I start seeing them. Like, you just got passed through because no real scientists and doctors or anyone who's dedicated to their work in their craft thinks like that at all. It just doesn't make scientific sense, especially scientists in general. We know that information can change over time. But when you read some of that old stuff, that old, systemic racist stuff, to me, it was like, man, these people was really ignorant. They just gave them a label, doctor. I mean, when you think about it. So that's why I'm saying, like, more of us, we still have to push through to become the nurses, the doctors, the medical doctors, the surgeons. You still have to push through, Black women. And the young Black ladies, again, the young Black girls, they have to know that there's possibilities still for them because this is our country. This is our country. This is our home. And we have to start treating it like it's our home, right? So we have to understand this framework keeps Black women stuck in a loop where trauma leads to stigma, which leads to more trauma. Breaking this chain requires recognition, healing, and systemic accountability. Okay. Now let's talk about workplace stress epidemic, right? Again, we witnessed where 300,000 plus Black women in the federal government either were laid off or they left their jobs because that, words mean things. So I do know there's Black women who did leave their jobs, regardless of what your counterparts want to say. That's just what was happening. I'm glad that some of them may not be aware of what's going on. That Black women have been making movements, I would say, since the COVID era to leave the country. So it hasn't blown up as people may have. It may have. I've seen some news sources, pointed out, but they haven't focused on it, and I'm glad they're not. I think it should be continued to move in silence, but that's something that is going on. and why some black women have made the choice to leave work, or they were getting pushed out, right? Corporate America often labels black women as angry or difficult. Again, you got some people who are working under a manager or executive who's a black woman, and she has to be the one that's, being difficult to you as a worker. It's her, right? If it was another woman, she would be the bitch too. But you're double whammy, right? You've got a double whammy. But research by the American Psychological Association shows that black women report the highest rates of workplace stress of any group of women. They face microaggressions, pay inequality, and exclusion from promotions. At the same time, they are leaned on as diversity leaders, carrying emotional labor without compensation. So this whole DEI mess, again, you got a certain ignorant part of the country who wants to promote that when black women are just they're working. If they're experiencing these things before this whole DEI stuff, during, I guess, because at first it was affirmative action. Let's keep it real. That's what it was. But again, that's why I don't like how the Democrats just. I'm telling y'all, like, y'all can't keep letting them paint certain stories of emotional bullshit, because it does affect us, because we all don't be emotional like that. We just don't. You know what I'm saying? And it misrepresents all of us and not get to the meat and potatoes of what we need from our representatives. So now these some black women were getting promoted, because it wasn't like every freaking company, everybody had a diversity program. So it was a lie. Just because a few had it, it wasn't everyone who had it, right? But then you had these quote unquote diversity leaders put in at these companies. That's because if black women are being excluded prior to that and they earned it, then what the fuck is the issue? You got people coming in, want to give their families a chance. I've seen that. I've been someone who had the skills, the availability to do something, but they put their family member. And we see that with the immigrants. We see that. This is why, we have to ensure that we're voting for Americans, because they're in violation of not only the company's code of conduct that you're working for, but they're also in violation of labor laws, retaliation. They're in violation. They cannot come here and have the same practices they have in their countries who never put these things in place. It was the American women and men who put these labor laws in place. So coming here and violating those things from a legal activity is why your promotions are even getting hit sometimes. Okay, I'm not saying it's just them. I'm just saying you have to look at this from a bigger lens. So this whole no snitching and you want to be we are the world with them is detrimental to your economic prosperity, black women. You gotta stop. You gotta stop it. It's you don't even know how to make it a win-win situation. You haven't even did a deal or anything to make it a win-win situation. But you're okay with being excluded. Like, you're not going to heaven because you did that. Like, you need to stop thinking in that manner. You're killing your own community and economic stability by doing that shit. Pay inequality. All these things are still happening, but we're voting for other people to have more stuff than us. Like, come on. At the same time, they are leaned on as diversity leaders, carrying emotional labor without compensation. So they are okay with us being emotional. That's the look of black women. That's what they see, the emotional labor. So when black women in this quote unquote 92% said, hey, we're gonna sit back and live our lives and blah blah blah, the reason they wanted you out there because they said, hey, we wanted your emotional labor, because you are good at speaking up. You are good at standing up, but you're just not good at it for yourself. I couldn't stand when black women used to be like to me, speak up, or, closed mouth don't get fed. But it's like, ma'am, I spoke up for the things that were for me, and I got them. I have accomplished the goals that I set out for. I didn't have to be what you wanted me to be. I didn't have to speak in the way you wanted me to speak. Not having that dynamic, Not having that range affects you because you think you got to be aggressive to people all the time. You got to talk to people in a certain way. Like something's wrong with you. In my mind, I'm like, man, something's wrong with this person. I got to figure out how to get away from this person. 'Cause, whoa. But hey, you could have been stressed. Some dude did something to you. I know it was something else. It wasn't me. But you wanted to take it out on me or take it out on other black women because I see that. It's you. You need to go figure out what's wrong with you and heal yourself. And I'm showing you things that are possibly contributing to your issues, black women. This dual stress, invisibility, and hypervisibility contributes to burnout, depression, and early exits from industries. Now, I took a break because I was getting stressed and burnt out from my last job. But because I work my butt off, I'm able to relax on that income that's coming from my disability. I'm relaxing. I'm taking that year. It almost made me hate my career, but I picked up so much. And when I think back, I'm like, man, I could have relaxed here, I could have relaxed there. But when I move forward now, it gave me so much information, so many different skill sets that I can go work for anybody. And not only that, I can work for myself now. That's the goal. And that's what I was trying to say. It doesn't have to be that your end goal is working for someone. Yeah, you want longevity in companies because you get 401ks, you get all these benefits, and that's what you want to build up. Health benefits because your children, especially if you got children, you're a single mother. I told one of my sisters pretty much, I'm like, you need to get in career fields where you're getting a salary and you got health benefits that can take care of your children because it sucks to cut out your pocket. You don't have all that money to be doing that, especially when healthcare, we don't know where it's at in the limbo, but your job helps for that. You know what I'm saying? So a young woman or a woman who is a single mother, I think it's important for her to try to get a career field where she's going to get a good salad paying salary and decent benefits that can help with healthcare for her children. And then some of your worries, that stress can kind of be relieved because you're like, man, at least I know, my job will help pay for, something that may, hopefully it never does happen. And, I don't have to come out of pocket, thousands of dollars because I've already been paying into my health care, which pays for my dependents, my children. So you see how you got to look at things differently and you can't let ignorant people in your community tell you you shouldn't have went to go get a job and they ain't even created any healthcare system. They ain't built no clinics for you. They didn't do nothing to contribute to that. And I'm talking about the general counterparts in general. Okay. General means we don't give a damn if there's a couple specks in the fucking crew. It's the general group. Because if it was, we would see it. We would have black women flying. If y'all in the South, we would have black women flying down there for medical attention from the best of us, right? We don't see that right now. We have women, we have people still trying to search for black doctors and healthcare professionals everywhere they go. That's why I'm like, every state should have a community, and these are the things we need to establish in every state. Now, let's look at, again, this case of Dr. Susan Moore, right? In 2020, Dr. Susan Moore, a black physician, recorded a video from her hospital bed. She described being dismissed by white doctors who ignored her COVID 19 pain and assumed she was drug seeking. She later died. Her history is not isolated. It exemplifies how stress, racism, and gender bias coverage to literally kill black women, even when they are highly educated and skilled. The message is clear. Stress is amplified when black women are not believed. And you know why this also happens from a systemic point where people in their minds in these professions are okay with allowing someone to die. That is deep and dark. And I need y'all to really think about that. I need you to sit with that. There are people who will engineer a way for you to die, Black women. So this is also why there's been an issue, not with just policing. This is why when you focused on policing for your counterparts, you forgot about the medical system. You forgot about the healthcare system. You totally let that go away because you wanted to focus on crime alone. When crime shows that, hey, you may steal, you may commit fraud. It's not, I don't even think it's a lot of us, but you may, do those things. But we know you're not out here just willing dilly and killing people like crazy. We know, some of you may be extra abusive to your kids. We know that's happening. Verbally abusive, mentally, you're just abusive as a woman to your kids because you're probably under stress. You probably have a mental illness. You have all these things going on, right? But you're not seeing that the medical system is something that not only are you in it as a profession, but how people are literally willing to kill someone that's not like them because they have an issue. They have a mental, like they need to be behind somebody's hospital instead of working for a hospital, in my opinion. And this is why it's important to get into these fields. Because if Dr. Moore, maybe I went to a hospital and it had, it was very diverse, and you had doctors who were of different racial backgrounds, and especially if there was Black women there, stuff probably could have been prevented. But no, you don't want to open your own clinic sometimes. You don't see that as the outcome. Like that's should be the goal. When we talk about entrepreneurship, that has to be the goal. Because we cannot be dependent on a system that will not change for us or has not changed. And why it has not changed? Because we are just voting with our emotions. And we're not voting to place people like a chessboard in places and positions so that we can have a balance. People can get audited, people can be checked, people can get reprimanded for the stuff that they do. But when we are emotionally voting, this is why systemic stuff is still happening to us Black women. I'm telling you, this is why some of the systemic stuff is still happening because of how we're voting. I guarantee it. Some of this stuff can be resolved. And then when we have our young girls growing up, we need to make sure they're focused on their schoolwork so that they can then get into the fields they need to help. We don't want them around people. You don't want to be around people that's going to tell them, oh, you think you're better than us. You think because you went to school, so they want you to talk slow and stupid like them because you went and you learned how to talk differently now. Now it's an issue, but they want to congratulate you and make you go forward. You just got to cut these people off. I don't give a damn who they are in your family. You just need to cut them off. Go create a new family. That's just how I see it. They're detrimental to your health. They're stressing you out. They're causing depression, okay? PTSD. All this stuff is affecting you, Black women, and you're not looking at it. You rather focus on crime. Like that's the only thing that is affecting the Black community, and it's not. It's not. Crime has been the focus of the Black community since the crack epidemic, and I'm talking about in more of a modern time. And I say even a time that I can remember. I wasn't growing up during then. I was probably 90s baby. I'm not a 90s baby. I'm a late 80s baby, but I grew up in the 90s, 2000s, early 2000s. I'm a millennial. But these things affect us. So we're pretty much totally disregarding our health to protect people who more than likely, I'm just going to put it out there, who are doing criminal activity. And we'd rather protect them. We'd rather focus on policing. We allowed the Democrats to focus on that for the black community and not focus on the mortality rates that black women was experiencing. We have to clean this up, black women. It does not look good at all. Now, let's just take a global perspective for a moment because again, I don't like to tie in everybody, but I want you to understand that you are in America, you're an American woman, and how you vote and how you move is important. You may not agree with Republicans all the time. You may not agree with Democrats or independents or the Green Party or the Tea Party or any of these other parties that want to come up. You may not have an agreement with them, but you need to understand what they're talking about, what they've done for their community, things that you can say, I can tie something tangible to them. I know what they voted for. I understand enough what they voted for so that I'm informed better and I'm not just voting just to vote. I'm not just making up, something because somebody said if I don't vote for them, I'm not black, or they want to, push a Herschel Walker type of dude, a man who got multiple baby mamas, because that's how they see your counterparts. Regardless of what they want to say, that's how they see them. But they ain't got to see you like that. You're being kind of publicly attacked more now because you are the strongest. You're the last to hold the line. You've been holding the line. But there's people who got your back. They do. But you have to be better at how you vote. You cannot vote for people who ain't even from this fucking country to be getting stuff, and you ain't even got satisfied through healthcare and the healthcare system. In California alone, Governor Newsom was ready to give undocumented people healthcare stuff, and it's like, dude, what happened to that black woman who was a surgeon general? What happened to the more? What have y'all? What evidence and things that you've done here in California that focused on the mortality rates here? What have you done? What research? What have you done? What checks and balances are in place so we know? I remember this AI when AI was still early, as far as like being used in the healthcare system. I'll say how it was still having this racist agenda behind it because someone programmed it, taught it to do that, taught it that. Or again, you have old, outdated medical journals that is probably feeding data to and having that type of outlook medically. This is why it's even important for people like me who are in the STEM fields and technology and stuff to get into AI, to get into machine learning, so we can be able to say, no, yours is wrong. This is how you got to look at it. This is how it got to work. This is why it's important. That's what I'm saying. Young girls have no reason to be hoes, sluts, prostitute. They have no reason. That should be something that they're just like, yo, because some of us girls, we just like, yo, I want to be a hoe today. I'm not against it, live life, but some of us just want to be, free in our own way. But I'm just saying that's not a lifestyle that they have to lean on as a black woman because there's so many opportunities and possibilities, and it's not even scarce right now. So they can have something to look forward to. I don't care where you at right now, black woman. I don't care if you did bad, anything bad or evil to someone. Go out, figure out how to heal from that. Make sure you're helping to heal that person you did something to, right? And you need to say, all right, I'm going to get on the right track. I'm going to discipline myself. And I'm not going to give up because other black women aren't going to give up on me. But let's look at a global perspective for a second. To understand stress under gender oppression. So let's just focus on the gender oppression internally. Look at Afghan women under the Taliban rule. Denied education, stripped of careers, and surveilled in daily life. Their stress is institutionalized. So this is institutionalized stress. When we talk about it here, we call it systemic oppression and all that stuff. It's the same thing, right? While black women in the US are not under religious rule, Parallels exist. Societal structures dictate limits, dismiss pain, and undermine agency. Comparing across borders highlights how political, cultural, and systemic constraints create chronic stress for women, though the forms though the forms differ. So, do y'all want to be like the Afghanistan women, black women? I don't think you do. I really don't think you do. So we got to take voting, political agendas. We got to take those things seriously. Some of us just be yapping and yapping and yapping because we are so prideful. And I'll be like, man, this girl ain't got no substance behind her. Boy, you got to know it for yourself so you're educated yourself, black women. Let's look again at something else, the role of street culture. I spoke about this before, but I'm going to bring it up again when it relates to our health. Street culture in Black communities often normalizes hypermasculinity, misogyny, and economic shortcuts. For Black women, this means constant exposure to violence, pressure to remain silent about abuse, and stigmatization of rejecting the culture. What's worse, protecting this culture becomes a trap. When women defend abusers or criminals to protect the community, they sacrifice their own safety and perpetuate cycles of stress and trauma. So, again, doing all of this continues to put stress and trauma on young girls and women in your community. It continues that. So, not only can you say, oh, well, this person treated me like this at work today, and this white man did this, and this white woman did that? Like, let's focus on what's going on in our community. What this person did to you, what that black woman did to you, what your mama did to you, what your uncle or your grandma, or what. Let's focus on that, because that also contributes to your stress issues. It does. These things are very harmful to not only you, but to the legacy that's coming up behind you of your daughters, your granddaughters, your nieces. They call you masculine, even though there ain't no such. It's something that's made up, masculine and feminine. But they want to paint you as masculine, even though I'm showing you, I'm taking the time to go through actual data and lay out the plan so you can see what led to you being quote unquote hyper masculine. Because you have to be independent. You want to go out and push your baby stroller in the middle of the day, right? You want to have your home business, right? You want to be having your tea parties and riding horses and climbing mountains, probably, you know. You can say you don't, but I'm telling you, these things are fulfilling. This is your world, black women. Quit limiting yourselves. Quit thinking, oh, black people don't have to do this. Stop. That's street culture ignorance. Black people don't do this. That's street culture stuff. We're to say that when I'm thinking of that stuff, when I observe, I'm like, man, we are definitely not in tune with nature. Everything is not a white person thing. It's really not. We are so out of tune with nature. We only know our block. We're so afraid. And then when the black women who do go out and experience the world, we have something to say about them. Some of us are inspired. Some of us admire them, but we still find a way to hate on them, to be jealous of them, to be envious of them, to compete with them. You find a way because of the depression, trauma, PTSD, whatever you went through, that anger starts to come out of another black woman doing something, and now you're mad. You're fighting men. You're fighting other women over a man. I don't know too many female species in the wild doing some crap like that. That's to me, when I was growing up, maybe I was in tune and didn't know, but to me, it was like, why would I ever do something like that? Like, you can have them, sis, because I'm not about to. It doesn't look ladylike to me to be fighting over a man. Like, I'm sorry. It goes against my nature because I don't see any other female species that be doing anything like that. It's the males. So now you done gave your men that position. Now you done put them in a position where they didn't even earn any of that. They have not shown that they've earned any of that. Just being real. If you research information and you compare our counterparts to other men and you remove systemic issues, just like I'm showing you, I can show you systemic stuff that affects us, and I'm showing you internally stuff that affects us as Black women in particular, right? If you can go do the same thing, you'll see, yo, we really, y'all really ain't do nothing for it. Y'all really got nothing going on that would give us less stress, less depression, less trauma and PTSD. Because if you're doing it just amongst us, it will make a difference. That means everything else outside of that, we can still fight it by voting differently, right? But when you pull all of that stuff away, you don't see that. But when you pull all of that away and you show you compared to other women in the general society, the greater society, not no sexual marketplace, right? The greater society, you see what it is. And now your counterparts went out and they did everything they still done. What I showed you: neglect, abandoned you, betrayed you on the world stage through social media. They just betraying you. They made up things about you betraying them, and you still haven't went out and really dated anyone. You haven't showed any real true betrayal. And if it was probably internal stuff with other people, other counterparts, other Black people, right? Because it wasn't widely outside of it. If they seeing you get a job at a corporate company as betrayal, something's wrong with them. That is not your fault. They need to put together a corporation so that you can fall back on that. And now y'all can go compete. As that's what we're supposed to be doing. Asian communities are competing against white communities, competing against Latin communities. Latin communities are competing against Asian communities and competing against white communities and Hindu communities or Hindu Indian communities. And guess what? They don't even got to compete against us. All what we doing is allowing our counterparts to talk about yesteryear, what we did. Oh, it's our culture and what we started. We have to get away from those type of thought processes. And if we feel like that's what we was doing, we need to continue to do that. And Black women, I'm telling you, you need to break away. You need to stop. It's not about you being emotional. The emotional tie is what's blinding you to your economic progress, to your health progress. Okay? That's what's blinding you about what's going on. To understand yourself, why you're angry, why is something affecting you? Because someone betrayed you. They didn't want to believe you. Police didn't want to believe you. Instead of just saying we don't want to believe the cops, that means we have to vote better. We have to find people that are going to be in that position that is going to support clearing up the violence and the degeneracy in our community and not see nothing wrong with that. But when we're not voting that way, we continue to see the systemic stuff. I feel we haven't tried enough. You can't go back to civil rights era. We have to look at, we can even start from 2000 to 2025. We have 25 years. What have we done on a voting scale for policies and placing people in positions that really gave us the leg up as Americans? What? So you see what I'm trying to say? Like, you don't even have to go back to slavery. We don't even have to keep going back into slavery. We need to honor that time. We need to know where our lineage, where we came from, but we don't need to harbor on it for every rebuttal and debate that you're in, like our counterparts. If our counterparts feel like they need to do that, I'm pretty much at the point, let them keep doing that stuff. We need to move on and move forward. So this street culture does affect us because you're in those environments and you're continuing to be pounded on and pounded on by your counterparts and other women who are demented just like them, degenerate just like them. So the normalization of violence is true. I watched a video, and well, you know what? Let's go to this, and I'll tell you about the video I watched because I think this is important. Because I did speak about no snitching, and I think probably a few presentations ago. But I want to bring this up again because this is affecting our health. This is more about our health, and how we can look at what's contributing to the health issues we're experiencing as Black women in these environments. So, a Black girl reports being molested by a relative. Instead of protection, excuse me, she's told, excuse me, don't ruin the family. So, her speaking up, a 5-year old, a 10-year old, 12-year old, 13-year old, speaking up is going to ruin the family, is going to put this person in jail. This silencing is mirrored in larger community practices: no snitching, no reporting, protecting predators. So you got a bunch of Black people confusing street culture and middle class, upper class culture with that street culture. So now it's harder to tell who's actually legitimately smart, educated, not ignorant, because we have the overall culture being our badge of honor, meaning young kids cannot tell you anything without you saying you don't believe them. And if you're already saying they're fast, you're already putting it in your mind they're fast or they're competing against your man, your grown ass man, then you already betrayed them. In your mind, you've already betrayed them. You already given up on your kids. So the result of that is survivors are re-traumatized, predators remain free, and girls grow up angry because they see these people at the family reunions, at the cookouts that y'all don't want to invite white people to, who ain't did anything racist, who haven't said anything, who had your back. But you'll invite those predators though. You'll allow them to be there. And your daughter, your niece, your grandchild, fuck their feelings because hey, we all family, you just need to forget. We got too many people in our community who just want to sweep stuff under the rug. And that has to go now, Black women. Again, this has to change. This is a new day, new direction. Some call it the reset. We gotta reset ourselves too. So of course that daughter is angry. She doesn't trust you. She's overburdened with stress. And you all are okay with her feeling that. And then some of you Black women who do that, you probably were in that position. So now in your mind, it's like, well, I'm gonna just go with the flow of the no snitching code. I'm gonna just go with the flow. Who gives a damn about that 5-year old, that 6-year old, that 10-year old? We just want to have a good family time today. We don't want to address that today, but you don't want to address it at no time, and you allow this person to show up. You know this person is the way they are, and you allow them to show up. So this cultural protection of harm directly damages health and perpetuates cycles of violence. Black women, we no longer will operate in that manner. We should no longer operate in that manner. And I know, and none of you Christian women, none of you religious women, I know y'all not protecting nobody. I know that's not something you do and think you about to get into heaven. I know that ain't about to happen. Now let me bring up this YouTube crime channel, and I think it was two of them, but one of them was some little girls seeing this man who was pretty much, jacking off and calling them, possibly following them around these apartment complexes, right? These young kids. And the cops, when they started to investigate, it wasn't just the young girls who reported, and these are little girls. I mean, they're definitely under 10 years old, okay? But it wasn't just them, it was other grown ass women who seen the same thing and never said anything. So now this same person, regardless of if he's homeless, regardless of if he's somebody's husband, brother, cousin, they allowed this fucking fool to continue to roam around that community because one day he was going to go through with it. I guarantee one day they were going to probably go through with the thoughts, with the degeneracy that they had in their mind. They were going to go through with it. And some of your counterparts speak like that today. How if you don't give them that, they're going to go through with it. They need to be off the streets. They need to be out of the community. They need to go somewhere where they can do that to a tree. And God help that tree, right? They don't understand what women mean by the bear, right? Women rather be ravaged and beat and killed and slashed up and eaten by a bear than to be there with a man. They can't even understand those things. Why are we even having conversations with people who are not in the gifted class and they're in the back bungalow classes? That's how I see it. But this whole community knew about this guy and they did not report him. It was the little girls who had to report them because he was exposing himself to the little girls, to the fact they said he was pretty much kind of low-key following them around. Little children. And what did the grown-ups around them say? I'm not saying all the grown-ups did this, but some of the grown-ups was like, y'all shouldn't have been over here. Y'all should have stayed over here. Didn't assess it, didn't do any of that, just allowed it to happen. People didn't report it. Black women, and these were all black people. You need to do better. That should have never happened. First time it happened to the first woman, yo, I'm reporting that shit. Where's the cops? Because we're not gonna have any of that. You gotta be on it. Like there is 0% allowing that to happen. Excuse me, 0% that should be happening around the community at all. No tolerance. Like that should be the mentality. There is no tolerance for any of that. You're gonna go. Because what they're gonna do, they're gonna keep that person and send them right back out there. If you voted better, we can vote for better mental health facilities for black women or people that's out there experiencing stuff because that needs to be the push. But no, we allowed the Democrats to focus on the immigrants as if gun violence and all that shit is not popping off for Americans. That money could have went to more mental health facilities, mental health professionals, paying more mental health professionals, giving psychologists and psychoanalysts, giving all of them the funding and money that they needed to help these people. You let degenerate men tell you, oh, maybe you should send out a CPS or a psychologist out there. Well, you goddamn right, they do need to be out there. Somebody need to be out there. Somebody should have been out there in the first fucking place. Every police department should have a couple of them. Every municipality, should have all of them. They should have them, in my opinion. Yes, because we've been dealing with mental health issues for a long time. White men, black men, Hispanic men, like it's just been a thing. But we have yet to vote for that type of help. Black women, you be seeing out here cussing and acting up. Some of them are homeless. Could be drugs, could not be drugs. And I'm telling you, black women don't even need drugs to be acting a fool. So when you go to the hospital and they don't want to give you drugs or think it's drugs, like you don't even need to give us drugs for us to be acting up more. Like we're telling you now, PTSD, depression, trauma, all that stuff will give us the ammo we need to act up the way they act up. The drugs is the thing that needs to help that situation, in my opinion. So they already thinking retarded and backwards. If they are medical professionals, you're already backwards thinking. Why are you even? How did you even get that far? Somebody had to help you. That's how I say it. Somebody help DEI your way all the way to being a medical doctor. Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. So holding on to these codes, as I just gave you an example of a situation where these young girls had to report some guy, unfortunately he was homeless, but it ain't even got to be a homeless man, but he's just around here doing this. He's just around here doing this. Like those type of people don't even belong around. They shouldn't even be allowed around women or any of that. They should be like, look, you're banished. You gotta get your shit and get the fuck away. We don't care how your mama feel. She's not here to watch over your every move because you're grown now. She's not here to do any of that, right? She needs to support the community at the end of the day, and you need to go. If she wants to go visit you, she gotta go visit you wherever you at. But you ain't welcome here. That's zero tolerance, black women. It has to be zero tolerance. We have to reset our mindsets and the way we're going to heal ourselves. This is a perpetual cycle of violence. It's a cultural protection. This is cultural. We cannot lie and say that it's not a cultural thing. It's a cultural protection of harm. It damages the health of black women and young girls. It perpetuates cycles of violence. Now, the health outcomes of chronic stress. The CDC reports that black women have the highest rates of hypertension, fibroids, and lupus. But yet we allowed the Democrats to pivot to focus on immigration and healthcare for undocumented people. Okay, like you couldn't do those jobs, your teenagers couldn't do those jobs. They started to focus on them. Okay, these conditions are not random. They are linked to chronic stress and trauma. Fibroids, for example, affect 80% of black women by age 50. Studies suggest elevated cortisol and systemic inflammation as key factors. Stress literally manifests as tumors, pain, and infertility. So, when we're talking about mortality rates, we have to see that sometimes, ladies, the issues in your community are contributing to the health issues which affects your birth issues, diabetes, okay? Lupus disproportionately devastates black women with stress and trauma triggers. So you know what health issues you have. Why are we voting to not focus on the health issues? Like what are we doing? Why are we okay with that? Because we allowed our counterparts to have us focus on them. We do other communities ain't even focusing on that. It's men and women, even this abortion issue. But look what we are dealing with, and we said no, we're gonna focus on our man. We're gonna focus on just the crime of our men. Like, wake the hell up, black women. We gotta wake the hell up. Now, here's how I suggest we heal. Okay, we can't just allow people's slogans and their hashtags. We can't do these things. We love a good hashtag. We love a good slogan. We love a good prayer or prayer circle. We love a good sermon. We love that good stuff. We love somebody saying something that makes us feel good, verbally, emotionally, right? But healing requires tools. A stress survival kit for black women should include therapy tailored to cultural trauma, safe reporting systems for abuse, community based financial cooperatives to reduce economic stress, nutrition and fitness rooted in tradition, not diet fads, spiritual grounding and sisterhood spaces. This is not self care as luxury, this is survival care. The tools needed to live longer, healthier lives despite systemic neglect. Now, we have some Black women that are into each of these areas. So we need to find those Black women. We need to uplift what they're doing. And we need to ensure that we can establish these survival kits, these stress survival kits in all 50 states and beyond that, because I know a lot of us, or we're starting to travel and establish residencies in other countries. So it's a great thing to also try to, establish these things not only for Black women in those countries, but for other women in those countries too. In my opinion, I think you have to think about the general consensus. Don't move to another country and you're still isolating yourself. When you're there, for me, I want to learn the language. I want to be involved in the culture because we expect the same when people come here to America. Okay. So this is a good way that Black women can have a stress survival kit, and we got to start this young. So these are good ways to start this young. There's Black women out there who have established some of these things. Some of them are barely surviving. Some of them are thriving. Some of them want to get started. So when we talk about investing into each other, these are areas that we want to invest into so that it can relieve our stress. And again, I'm not worried about counterparts. I'm not worried about anyone else. If anyone wants to contribute to that, that's perfectly fine. That's what we want because this may be a standard for, it could be a standard for women all over, but not only women, other men may want to say, you know what, this seems like a great way for us to also find a way to relieve our stress amongst each other as well and amongst other women because there are going to be co-ops like this as well. But I'm just saying specifically for Black women right now, these are ways we have to learn to relieve stress because we have a health crisis that is affecting us. Okay. Now, let's look at healing in action, some more healing case studies. So community healing circles, I know there's some out there, but we need to, again, in 50 states, we need to have our own. Again, people want to rag, our counterparts want to rag on independence. This is what I'm telling you why we have to have that mindset to establish things for us. We can't say because somebody did this to destroy us back in the day, we got to continue to not keep going. You got to keep rebuilding. Think of ants or insects. You break something down, they're going to go somewhere else and they're going to rebuild again. So you have to think like that. Think of nature. That's why you have to be involved with nature and understand, the species that we are among and how they operate, because we can learn a lot from them other than learning from other communities, their patterns and practices. Okay. So let's look at this. In Oakland, a group of Black women created a healing circle after losing family members to violence. They met weekly to share, meditate, and pool resources. Within a year, participants reported lower blood pressure, improved sleep, and stronger financial stability through cooperative saving. This case shows the power of collective healing as an antidote to stress. When Black women gather intentionally, stress transforms into resilience. So, again, let's take you can take away what this sister did over here, these sisters did, and you can establish them in every other state, in all 50 states. You can establish them in different cities in different states. We just need that to be there for Black women. Make this once a week or bi-weekly that you're going there, and then get your daughters involved. You know what I'm saying? So they can talk about it. Don't judge each other when you're there. Don't judge your daughters. Your daughter's going to have certain feelings and emotions. We need to make sure that it's a space that they can talk to each other with. Now, when people want to rag on safe spaces and blah, 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 they need to understand what those safe spaces are for. I'm giving you the issues that affect Black women when I spoke about trauma, violence, things that contribute to our health issues, voting. This is why when we do talk about safe spaces, we need to make sure that this stuff can help alleviate some of the pain. And again, as we see, this particular safe space helped in health, right? It helped blood pressure reduction and better sleep quality, right? And it helped the economic situation. So if our safe spaces are doing things to help us in certain key areas that will contribute to the greater society for America, that's what we want to do. Again, our community is very unique. It's very unique. So something like this allows us as women to get the healing and help we need amongst each other. Now, this is not for all Black women. I just think there's just going to be Black women who just never going to change. I don't think everything's for everybody, right? But I think when we're looking to help young Black women and the Black women who are trying to progress or get out of certain situations, we need to have our own independent places that are still dependent on the greater society. Otherwise, you're going to still deal with health issues, right? You're going to still be second rate. They're still going to continue to judge you and bring all these, stereotypes and, look at the most worst of us and say, hey, that's how you are, you know. But if we continue to establish these things and get supported, then, as you see here, it can help in the health crisis that we are dealing with starting from a young child. Okay. Now, stress, economics, and single mothers. Single mothers carry disproportionate stress. They do. Studies show that 70% of Black single mothers live at or near poverty levels, and many work multiple jobs. This economic strain compounds health risk, but the narrative must shift. Single mothers are not failures, they are survivors. The real failure is systemic: absent fathers, denied loans, lack of childcare, and punitive welfare systems. Stress kills not because Black women are weak, but because America has made survival harder for them. So, again, single mothers have been dumped on by fathers who are absent, who neglected, who abandoned. Your economic situation, because there's single mothers who are working multiple jobs. There's single mothers who are trying to establish their own entrepreneurship so they don't have to depend on welfare. And they're denied for certain loans. But they're denied because they can't even get their finances, their personal finances together, right? Because they're having to give, work to give. Lack of childcare, or childcare rates have gone up, right? Welfare systems. Welfare can create a way that you just get stuck on it, and it's hard for you to make a dollar extra without them cutting you off already, right? So again, when we vote for policies and changes, and we look at welfare, we can say, yo, we need better programs, maybe a 5-year program and a 10-year program. A 5-year program can assess maybe for a single person who's dealing with some issues and just needs some help. And in 5 years, we'll let them increase their rate unless they hit, let's say, 60 or 70K or 50K or whatever. They need to get off of welfare then, right? But if they are a single parent, maybe we'll let them hit 60 or 70K. And depending on the environment or area they're in, then we'll wing them off of welfare. It needs to be better, because right now the welfare system is still old and outdated. This is why so many people are still on it. So many people are abusing it. It doesn't really have checks and balances. You got people who aren't even from here benefiting off of that. And those are some of the things I would probably back our current president on, because it's right. Like, it makes no sense for other people, Democrats, to allow that to happen. And Black women are still dealing with economic stress, you know what I'm saying? Denied loans, not able to get winged off because they need to pursue an education. Health, childcare is not getting paid for. And again, this is all without your counterparts contributing in the ways they should be there to contribute, right? It shouldn't just be, oh, well, they're good fathers. It needs to be at every level. You need to show up like the Black woman shows up, right? Every level you have to show up. We can't just give you cookies for doing one thing. every level you need to show up if you're going to be in your child's life, just like every other man has to do, right? So when we look at that, people wanted to attack single mothers. But again, I'm giving you the information so you can see how you became a single mother, why it's affecting your stress, your economics, you scaling up your businesses, why this is affecting your educational attainment, because you are being betrayed. You are not only being failed by a system, but you're being failed internally amongst each other and amongst your counterparts. Okay, so voting better, understanding who you're voting for, positioning, understanding what politician you're going to position in your local, community or municipality versus the bigger, president or senators and stuff like that. All of that matters, Black women. If you're an American Black woman, you need to be ahead and you need to be, politically involved. You cannot think about, oh, voting doesn't matter, blah, blah, blah. If it didn't matter, civil rights wouldn't have been here. If it didn't matter, women wouldn't be able to vote. If it didn't matter, women would still be under the guise of men who think they are leaders. Okay, this is literally why voting makes sense. People wouldn't be attacking people, trying to manipulate people, propaganda. We can't all say there's some spiritual stuff going on where we're so out of reality of what we can change today, what we can affect today. I'm a spiritual person, but I don't allow myself to be so ignorant to that I cannot get involved with what's going on in reality, right, or the physical world. Okay, so understanding that people are going to attack single mothers. They've been attacking single mothers or trying to, blame you for scapegoating you for adult men making decisions for themselves. Again, zero tolerance. It's zero tolerance. You got to keep saying that. You're going to keep, you're going to be 30, 40, 50 years old, still talking about that, still talking about the young single mothers. Again, let's if we pull back the systemic stuff, where's the centers for young boys where um, you're not only talking to them, but you're directing them better, right? You don't have a lot. Why are young men, why they rather go into gangs versus being with their families or amongst just people who want to do good things? Why is that their approach, right? Why are we saying, oh, well, they're changing their minds now? No, it's not about now. We need to see a consistent change throughout the years. They wasted a couple decades already, ladies. They've already wasted some decades. So those decades need to be replaced back and moved up. They need to figure it out, right? If they can't figure it out, that shouldn't be too much of your worry anymore because things have shifted. There are more available men out here who got their shit together, and they're not worried about the detriment of you. They're more about your success because your success is going to be the success of your daughters and your children, your lineage, right? So that's how you have to see this in America right now. So when they're damaging or want to poke fun at single mothers, like, it's true. Where's their dads? Where's these working men? Where's these providers and protectors? Women, Black women, you don't have to lie. You don't have to make up and continue to protect them. Sometimes you could just be silent, because all the stuff is pretty much exposed. You don't even have to do much. Nothing is really changing this narrative so much about them other than desperation, other than, making this appearance. But other men who's been out there just know it's not true. They don't see them in these fields like that, like crazy. They just don't. I don't even see them. You don't even see them like that. And it's not always that they're not getting the opportunities or whatever. Like, sometimes it's systemic, but most times it's, why are you competing against your women, right? They should be looking at it as, well, why am I not competing against this white guy? And then when they have an issue with that, why are they trying to make you emotionally charged for it? That should be their emotion that they need to be charged with. That should be them saying, you know what, we do need to vote better. We do need more audits. Just like I'm telling you what you need to do so that your jobs aren't in jeopardy so you can reach the final uh, position, which is possibly entrepreneurship for yourself or a job where you're getting paid nice, decent wages, and you're in positions where you can affect change in that company. Investing, all that stuff is important for the black woman and the young black girl. So that's why when I see single mothers, we have to understand what is stressing us out, what led us to be single mothers. Is it just you? No. You know what I'm saying? Are you dealing with mental illness? Right? Are you someone who just felt that you need to focus on your man? Are you someone that felt you need to focus on, um, uh, the community and just crime with people who are engaging in degenerate behavior? If that's something that you want to focus on, continue to do that. And you can continue to see the economic disparity, the policies that continue to stay the way they are. Everything's going to stay the way it is. But the black women who, like me, who wants to continue to progress, we're going to see the issues and why single mothers even got to be single mothers. There's no way 70% of single mothers or the mothers who live in poverty, there's no way it's always their fault, right? You have to be really, really ignorant of that. And people who cling on to that, even from other communities, again, I'm going to say it, they probably have an issue with black women, right? I already explained how some people would see aggression in you. They already think you have an attitude. So I already put that out there. How some people are already prejudging you without even talking to you, without even knowing you, because they seen some movie or some black man pretending that he was a trans woman who put it on to be a black girl. You know what I'm saying, or a black woman. You have that going on where your image is being used and talked about by everyone but yourself. So this is why black women, you have to have zero tolerance, and you have to treat yourself better. You cannot allow people to go and tear your image down, and you don't have information like I'm showing you here to back up some of the reasons that you may be experiencing this stuff. Because I mean, some of this stuff, this is why you had to be independent. That's all I'm going to say. This is why it's not just systemic. There's reasons you have to be independent because you were already betrayed starting as a young girl. For those who experience, those who were the 60% of young girls who experience sexual violence, abuse in their home, either by their mothers, their fathers, their uncles, brothers, whoever. You're already experiencing those things in the home, and you're being betrayed because you're being told, don't say anything about it, or stuff is happening in your community, and unfortunately, young kids under 10 years old have to report it before the grown-up adult women to say anything, because they're just like, oh, we're just going to allow this man to walk around because he's black. Like this is the ridiculous street logic that you guys be going on. So we can't do that anymore. Zero tolerance. Now let's talk about breaking the chain. From stress to stereotype to punishment, the chain can be broken, black women. Now, to break that, it requires policy reform. Number one, maternal health investments, sentencing, fairness, and survivor protections. So, this is why you need to be politically informed. You need to, at least at minimum, understand policy. Your children, your young girls need to make sure they're passing their government classes, their civics classes. Make that a thing for Black women. When we go into education fields, let's all take a civics class, whether it's a part of your education direction or not. Take those classes, right? Understand the history of America, because we don't want to just focus on our history. We want to focus on history in general of America, and then also understand who you're voting for, what things they back up. For example, there's things Chuck Schumer then added. I remember this fucking fool wanted to give money away again. I've understand political stuff probably coming out of, I want to say maybe high school. I'm still learning. I'm not saying I was like the best, but that era and then early college too. And I got in a little bit more, political stuff, but I can only speak to people who would understand, those type of conversations. So I didn't speak to people who I may have been around, because they They would get angry. Black women getting angry and stuff about stuff they don't understand or they just refuse to understand. But being around those type of people that did understand it, and me just thinking of policies and understanding what's going on, it made a difference, right? And I stopped becoming a Democrat a long time ago because I just was like, man, they're not representing how I am. They're just making us look soft. And this is why I'm like, I wasn't going full Republican either, but I can see why some Black people would go or would be a part of that party because, and it's not because of MAGA or any of them. It's because of Republicans seem to be for America, right, and Americans, but Democrats, unfortunately, they have shown, I would say at least from 2008, that they are not specifically for America. An immigration policy shouldn't mean that anything more than, hey, follow the laws, you know, become legalized. We have different types of immigration visas and all that stuff. As long as you comply, blah, 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 you're good. Outside of that, if you got kicked out or whatever, I don't, you hid for 20, 30 years. Imagine someone who committed a crime and they get away for 20, 30 years, and then you finally find them, and now they're arrested and have to spend time in jail. Why are we so lenient because they're immigrants, right? And that's where it comes in. Your emotional leverage, your emotional power is being used, is being manipulated to just vote for anybody, and you're having a health crisis going on, Black women. Okay. Community accountability. No more protecting predators or excusing abuse. This should be zero tolerance. You know, if people in comments or anywhere just making comments, I know some of them are the counterpart. I can just tell. I just tell. There are counterparts that are just have degenerate mindsets. Try not to address it, but let it be exposed. Let it be exposed because it tells the story that we aren't lying about the 60% of young Black girls who are already being adultified and who are already experiencing sexual abuse in their homes, okay, or by their partners, okay. Personal healing, therapy, sisterhood, financial independence. Every Black woman ain't with sisterhood because a lot of Black women betrayed a lot of Black women. And again, we're starting from your mothers, your aunts, whoever took care of you, your guardians. They betrayed you. They betrayed you. So it's hard for Black women to even trust Black women. And then you have other people instilling more distrust between us by putting us against each other, right? If we thought better, we had more reasoning skills, more reasoning in how we think. Sometimes the issues that you're trying to bring up to the next woman is really, your counterpart's issue. They're trying to bring it up. They want to scapegoat all the time. Learn what that word is and know that you're being used, Black women. Know that you are being used for someone who should bear the responsibility, right? So we need to heal, get some therapy because I love promoting therapy. I can just tell somebody is mentally ill. They just don't sound correct, but they need some therapy. I go to a therapist here and there when I'm just feeling like, man, I need to talk to somebody. I do not approach my family first. I don't. My parents are Gen X, and I think my dad he may be Gen X and or baby boomer, so he may be on the cusp. But their mindset about that is different because they come from a different era, right, where things were really, really bad and violent compared to now, right? But coming from that era, I can understand why they may not be as they don't want to go, they don't see it like that because they're still, their minds is like, nah, this is what it is, this is what I experienced. But they want you to do better though, and we can, healing ourselves in different forms. You have a lot of Black women who got YouTube channels or courses or whatever that can heal you. They got places now. Black women are big in real estate, so they got land now. You can have your glamping events, camping events. You can have all of those things now amongst each other, amongst ourselves. So we can definitely be involved, right? And talk about things. No fighting should be needed. You shouldn't be there being mad at the next black woman because of something. You shouldn't even be bringing in why you don't like somebody else. All that gossip and stuff has to stay at the door. It should be zero tolerance. When you have these type of groups, these personal healing groups, it's zero tolerance. Any of that stuff, you got to go. Take that stuff back to the streets where once you came. So that's all I'm going to say. Collective advocacy. Black women demanding health equity, workplace equity, workplace equity, and survivor first politics. So again, politically, we have to be charged, especially moving forward. This is a great time to prepare yourselves for this November, this 2026 voting for next year. Again, don't think of it as I need to vote for a Democrat just because, or I need to vote for a Republican just because. I need you to understand what's going on, what they're trying to change, and what's going to affect you in the long run. If you feel that it's better to vote for a Democrat because you're trying to prevent, a certain type of system or regime from it being implemented, that's fine, right? But what you need to do is ensure that when you do vote for those Democrats, that they're not backing up certain people, that you have voted for people who's not going to be for themselves, right? There's no, are there any black people running? You know what I'm saying? Like, we cannot allow immigrants to come here and start to vote, because what they're going to do is continue to push you out economically. I'm just keeping it real. So you got to be careful with how you vote, even for Democrats, because they fucked up. I'm sorry, they did. Breaking the chain is not optional; it's the path to survival. So I'm going to go ahead and close this one out and just say this, Black women. Stress has been framed as our strength, but it has been our slow death. From childhood trauma to single motherhood, from criminalization to health crisis, Black women have carried a burden that science now proves is deadly. But this story does not end in despair. It ends in strategy. By recognizing stress as a health crisis, by refusing to protect those who harm us, by building cooperative capital and healing spaces, and by demanding accountability from systems, we can rewrite our futures. The time is now. Survival is not enough. Black women must thrive. We deserve to thrive in health, in wealth, and in peace. Thank you guys for attending my presentation again. I really, really appreciate it. Please like, share, and subscribe. I will try to post this presentation in the description below. Again, I appreciate you guys for tuning in. I will be back with more for this channel. Thank you, and you guys have a good night.